Hey, this is Andrew, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite things to do with leftover mashed potatoes. And that's making a very basic type of dumpling that I grew up calling pulushka. All it requires is some leftover mashed potatoes, to which I add an egg, then some salt and pepper. At this point, you can also add some herbs. I added dill in this case. You then add just enough flour to bind everything together. Adding too much flour will make a denser dumpling, so you just want to find that balancing point. I then roll the dough out into a long tube that I cut into small sections. And you can actually do a test boil at this point to check the consistency. They only need to boil a couple of minutes, and I found the consistency a little too soft, so I ended up adding a little bit more flour to the dough, and you can see the shape is a little bit firmer. When they're done boiling, you can eat them as is, but it's also nice to pan fry them briefly in a little bit of butter to get a little bit of texture on the outside. And that's basically it. They're very simple, very comforting. I believe pulushka means pillow in Ukrainian. I think the resemblance makes sense. And it's just a nice variation to have a different way of using up mashed potatoes.
Hello, it's Inga here, and the leftover ingredients I'm going with are some tsukemen broth with some extra chashu slices that I couldn't finish. I was really craving tsukemen the day before, and the thing about tsukemen broth too is that it's more of a dipping broth than a soup broth, so it's much more concentrated and much more flavorful. I didn't want all this flavor to go to waste in my leftover soup, so I decided to take it home after adding a big heaping tablespoon of chili just to, spice it up a little bit. My thought process for leftovers is usually always to see what I have lying around in the fridge, and in this case, I had some frozen udon, a small chunk of onion, some fresh shiitake mushrooms, and this one block of curry roux that's been just sitting there in my fridge for a while. So I decided to try and make it into a cafe-style curry cream udon. I started by reheating some of the tsukemen broth, and you can actually see the chunks of garlic in there with all that umami from the pork fat. And so to that, I added in the onion and mushrooms, diluting it slightly with some water before adding in the curry block and a little bit of heavy cream. Also added in some sugar and mirin to balance out the savoriness, and then cooking the udon on the side. Then it was just a matter of combining the two, which is just adding in some udon water as well and letting the sauce reduce a little more, like you would with pasta. And then adding in some greens, in this case spinach. This was really just to make myself feel a little bit better. I'm also reheating my chashu slices on the side in the toaster here, so then I can lay them on top of my udon once it was plated. And to make this even more indulgent, I'm adding on fresh mozzarella slices and putting them under the broiler so it can get all melted and gooey. And then I just finished it off with some herbs, black pepper, and a little bit of shiso leaf. And that's it, my curry cream udon. This was, as you can imagine, intensely flavorful, both because of the broth base and the curry roux. And in this case, the heavy cream actually helped neutralize them slightly, balancing them both out while adding this kind of richness that felt very luxurious. But what I especially liked was being able to change up the flavor of the broth so that it felt like I was eating two completely different meals, even though the base ingredient was the same. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys get to too.
Hey, I'm Sean. I'm new to the About to Eat team. Nice to meet y'all. This is my first time making one of these videos. Please be kind. I'm gonna take leftovers and turn them into something new. I picked up lunch at Pioneer Chicken. It's this classic spot. My local chicken shop in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles is just really, really good chicken. Normally when you have leftover fried chicken, you can just refresh it in the oven, or you can even eat it cold. I'm gonna show you what I do when I want to switch it up. It's a method that was big on the internet in Japan in the early 2010s, and it resurfaces every couple years. I'm using the leftover fried chicken to make a really non-traditional takikomi gohan, which is when you cook rice in the same pot as a bunch of ingredients and seasonings, and the flavors get into it, and it just becomes this super savory, comforting dish. I make this a lot, and there are recipes all over the internet, but I reference Just One Cookbook's takikomi gohan recipe just to kind of refine the technique and as a reference. So you wash your rice and let it soak, and then you start prepping all of the ingredients you're going to put in. This time I included carrots, ginger, and garlic. Do not smash your garlic this way. I don't know why I used a fist. I've actually broken knives this way. Use the heel of your palm. It's a lot safer. Do not do this. What I really love about cooking with leftovers is that there's already so much flavor, so you're really just layering on more and kind of trying to accentuate what's already there. I grabbed some sauces from around my kitchen, just whatever I had on hand, some soy sauce, some sake, some fish sauce, some kneading, and I filled out sort of the regular ratio of liquid to rice that I would normally do when cooking rice. So from there, I added the seasoning base. I've made this many times over the years, but this still freaks me out. You're gonna put your leftover chicken directly into the uncooked rice pot. It's gonna feel weird to put this nice piece of fried chicken into liquid, but trust me, it's gonna get reincarnated as something really tasty. You're gonna let it cook as you normally would. I was a little bit unsure how this was gonna turn out. I thought I might have put too much liquid in because I was experimenting, but then it finished cooking, and when I opened the rice cooker, I was hit with this incredibly like sweet, gingery steam and this deep, brothy kind of cloud, just with the interaction between the fried chicken seasonings and the sake and the soy sauce. It came together so well, and it smelled so good. I threw some chili crisp on top that Inga had given me. I dropped on some green onion just for color and for fun. It was so good. Normally when I make this, I want more of like that funky salty flavor, and this time because I added fish sauce, I think that really helped it along. The chicken was still super juicy. Every time I hit a piece of that batter, it was like a savory explosion. And you might think that it would be too greasy, but the oil gives the rice this kind of buttery sort of feeling that just makes it really endlessly eatable. And the best part of it all is that it takes leftovers and turns them into more leftovers, so you're set for 2 or 3 more meals. I'll always take crispy, fresh fried, anything, but this is a solid, reliable way to keep things interesting.
Hello, this is Adam, and I'll be showing you what I do with my leftover bacon. At home, I typically make a full package of bacon. I put it straight on a sheet pan and bake it, which is what I've done since seeing it cooked that way at Cheeky's in Palm Springs. It's easy and doesn't make much of a mess. I pretty much only cook bacon at home when I want to make BLTs, and I only really want to eat BLTs during the summer when I can get really good tomatoes. Because I cook a full package of bacon, I always have some left over, and this often ends up going on a wedge salad the next day for lunch. I quarter a head of iceberg lettuce, slice some red onions and tomatoes, which I like to season with salt and pepper. I throw all that on a plate and add crumbled blue cheese. I try to get some of the toppings on top of the wedge, but I mostly just dump them next to it. I like to cut the bacon into strips with scissors and finish it off with ranch dressing and black pepper. It's a fairly simple salad to make, especially if you already have the bacon on hand. It's the kind of thing where I wouldn't make bacon just to have it on a salad, but if I already have it, it does make the salad more exciting to eat. And it might be obvious, but this salad is basically the same set of ingredients as the BLT, just in a slightly different format. But honestly, I didn't realize that until making this video.